Good evening. My name is Jay Grewal, and I'm the President and CEO of Manitoba Hydro. So for my 7 minutes, I'd talk about something that is going to impact not only my utility, Manitoba Hydro, but utilities worldwide, and that is the changing, evolving energy value chain. Three main disruptors are driving this change. And as a result of that change, we are going to see a pace of change that is greater than we've seen since post-war mass electrification of our industry. The pace of change we are going to see is what we saw in the telecom industry over the last 20 years, but it's actually going to happen even faster because technology has advanced so much in the 20 years. So there's three factors that are impacting utilities going forward. And they are what we call the 3Ds. Decarbonization, decentralization, and digitization. Let's talk about decarbonization. On decarbonization, as governments look to reduce carbon emissions, renewable electricity, as we all know, is going to play an increasingly important role. And it's not just the transportation sector. It is going to see tremendous growth in the electrification of everything, of industry, of heating. The drive to decarbonization is not confined to any one region or market. In Manitoba, we are a hydro-based province. 99% of the electricity we produce is renewable. It's non-GHG emitting. So we're ahead of the curve. But we're ahead in some ways, but we also have risks in others. So we export power to the US markets. A lot of our customers in the US markets are heavily reliant on coal. They have set, some are exploring, and some have set in legislation and adopted it, that by 2050, they will reduce their emissions by 80 to 100%. Some are being aggressive and saying 2040, and others are even saying earlier. Here in Canada, we have the federal carbon charge. And with recent changes to environmental legislation, we're seeing the shift towards renewables increasing. And by that, we're talking more hydro, wind, and solar. So for those that are in this industry already, we need to think about what is the impact of these changes on generation and transmission and local distribution. A major component driving decarbonization is the improving battery technology. It's driving a paradigm shift where cars, buses, fleets in the coming years will be using electricity as their energy source. And this change is happening so much faster than anybody anticipates. The forecast for all new cars by 2030 to be electric. And some are saying by 2040 we may see hydrogen. For utilities, the challenges are multiple. Technically, how do we accommodate everyone starting up their cars when they get home or at any time of day? It's described as houses moving around on your grid, and you don't know when that house is going to want energy. How do we manage that? How do we also take advantage of the fact that batteries store power and energy that we could use to optimize peak and manage our generation in a much more effective way? So how do we position ourselves with the electrification of transportation? In a country where federally we're talking about an electrified western-eastern transportation corridor, in a country where we've got incentives for electric vehicles. Chargers. Tesla's just completed the last charging station from Vancouver to Manitoba, and they're now focusing on building it out in the east. For each province, the model will be different as to how the electrification of transportation will be managed. The second D is decentralization. And what do we mean by that? It's the rise of renewable distributed generation, photovoltaic rooftop cells, We ran a solar project pilot at Manitoba Hydro, and there was huge uptake, much greater than we anticipated. Yes, it was subsidized because we were testing solar and to see how we would manage it in our distribution system and grid. But when the economics make sense, you see globally solar will play a more and more important role going forward. And what's interesting is that solar cells are evolving so quickly and becoming so much more efficient. It's unimaginable 10 years ago what they are able to do now. Smart energy controllers can send excess power back to the customer, back to the grid. It gives us the potential to balance our local energy and demand peaks. It also offers savings to our customers because they sell energy back to us, net metering. In the future, they will store this excess energy from their renewables in batteries. The batteries can be in their car, or it can be larger scale utility batteries. When utility scale storage becomes effective and efficient, it will change our industry. And make no doubt about it, that will happen because there are tens of billions of dollars chasing those solutions. The big issue is once the costs of this technology become low enough, we reach something called grid parity. And what is that? It's when the cost to generate energy through your utility is equal to or less than your cost to use renewables. And then you don't buy the power from the grid. We're going to see grid parity, but more importantly, grid defection when customers will unplug from the local utility. And this is going to leave stranded assets. It's going to create unreliability in the grid, and those fewer customers who don't have the ability to pursue renewables will be the ones that are going to bear most of the cost. And they are the ones that are least able to, and the concept of energy poverty is emerging. Tesla is now renting solar panels for $50 a month in select cities in the US. They will bring the solar in, they'll install it on a monthly basis, and they'll remove it if you don't want it. The models are fundamentally shifting, and what we need to do as utilities is prepare for that new reality. And what is the role we play in reliability and in safety and keeping it as low cost as possible so all of our customers make informed choices. The model is changing, make no doubt about that. What we don't know is the pace of change. And the challenge is, how do you plan for that in this new evolving energy landscape? And this change will be happening in the coming 10 years. This is not a decade or 2 decades out. The change we will see will be material, and it will have an impact on you, our customers, with choice, but also there are risks that we are looking to mitigate through federal policy, through legislation and regulations. Thank you so much.